It looks like Sheldon Keefe's fate has been decided, and you're going to want to know what the report is saying. Hey, are you subscribed to the channel? If you are not, make sure to hit the subscription button down below. There's a lot of you who are watching these videos who are not subscribed. So hit the subscription button down below, and let's talk about Sheldon Keefe. Let's go all the way back to when Brad Treliving had his first press conference with the Maple Leafs. Somebody asked him about whether or not he would be interested in bringing back Keefe or bringing in a new coach, which a lot of GMs usually do when they get hired somewhere. Treliving, though, had an interesting point to say that Sheldon Keefe is a good coach, and that's what he's seen from afar. But there had to be discussions with Keefe, between Keefe and Treliving, throughout the offseason to figure out whether or not this was going to be a fit. And those discussions would have been taking place anyways, whether it was Kyle Dubas or Brad Treliving up as the GM. If you remember back to Dubas's comments, he even said that evaluation was needed to figure out whether or not Keefe was the right coach for this Maple Leafs team. And it looks like now the evaluation from Treliving is done, and this is what Darren Draeger from TSN is saying. He joined Jay Onrait on SportsCenter on Wednesday night and had this to say: unless something dramatic changes in the days ahead here, I believe that Sheldon Keefe will be on the bench to start the year. Now, there was always a 50-50 chance of whether or not Keefe would stay or go, and at this point, it looks like Treliving has allowed him the benefit of the doubt to stay on the coaching staff as of right now. And I mean, why wouldn't you want Keefe as a head coach? A 166, 71, and 30 record in 267 regular season games. That is a 678 points percentage over the course of 4 seasons with the Maple Leafs. His playoff total, though, is a little bit not as good. 13 wins, 17 losses, a 433 win-loss percentage in 30 games. Obviously, that's really the sticking point here. As much as the regular season does matter, and there's ebbs and flows, and there's ups and downs, and you're really trying to figure out what type of team you are, the playoffs are the judging point here. And Sheldon Keefe has never had a plus 500 in win and loss percentage in a playoffs over year by year by year. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen when you're not winning a Stanley Cup. You're not going to win more games than you lose. But at the end of the day, a 433 win-loss percentage, it's not the best, but it's also creeping up to 500. So it also isn't the worst. I think the Leafs are smart here by riding Keefe out and really figuring out if he's the right coach for this team, because at the end of the day, he knows all these players. He knows Austin Matthews. He knows Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander. He knows all of these guys, and if the core 4 is staying, along with Morgan Rielly, Luke Shen, if he resigns, and everyone else, he knows them all, and it makes sense with already so much change happening in the organization to keep the head coach on for at least this season, just to figure things out. But Dreger, while on SportsCenter with Jay Onrait, also said that they need to see how things go, and if it is a bumpy road at the beginning of the season, throughout October, November, it's always possible they make a coaching change. Let's see how things start for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dreger said that's a decision that Brad Treliving may have to make in season. Again, you look at Keefe's regular season record, and you look at maybe the past 2 seasons where they had a decent start and then really struggled at the end of October and heading into November. And it looked like the Leafs were falling off the rails a little bit, but they still got back on. They still showed that they are one of the best regular season teams in the NHL at this point. But as of right now, it looks like from the report from Darren Draeger that Sheldon Keefe will be the head coach of the Maple Leafs heading into the 2023-2024 season. One final thing I did want to add, though, was if you were getting rid of Sheldon Keefe, who are you bringing in? There isn't really a lot of coaches out there available that could be a better fit than Keefe. I mean, you look at Keefe's resume, he's a winner, he's won the Calder Cup, he's coached teams that have been really good, and I think it's better to stick with him rather than let him go. Like, you look at Spencer Carberry, he's already out the door. He was a great assistant coach. You look at everyone else that's available, and to me, it doesn't seem like there's a better option than Sheldon Keefe right now that could go behind the bench for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. It's sort of like the GM options. There wasn't really a lot other than Brad Treliving, who was always the front runner for this job. So you look at Sheldon Keefe, again, there's not really, to me, anyone that sticks out that could really be a good fit here. I think, one thing that I would like to see, which would be great for the content, great for everything else, would be Bruce Boudreau on the bench of the Toronto Maple Leafs in an assistant coach's role. That would be something interesting. Have him come back home, be very passionate, along with Keefe, who's already very passionate behind the bench. And you have Manny Malhotra, you have Dean Schwinowith. I struggle with that name a lot. But you would have a sound coaching staff if you added Bruce Boudreau to this. Now, that might not be the right guy to bring in, but again, for the content, it just makes sense. So, yeah, again, there's no really better option than Keefe at this point, and it makes sense to me to bring him back. Now, I do want to know what you think, though. Is this a good decision from Treliving? Should he have gone a different way with coaching, with already Spencer Carberry already out the door? Should they have maybe gone for somebody else? Was there anybody else that you think could have been a better coach for this Maple Leafs team rather than Sheldon Keefe? Let me know all of those things in the comments section down below. But that is going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe, and also hit the notifications bell so you know whenever I upload a video. Thank you so much again for watching. We'll see you in the next video.